We're going to close it out for that card there in the boxing world. And this one is going to be O'Shaquie Foster versus Stephen Fulton. This is for Foster's WBC 130-pound title. We're going to be doing a live stream, as we said. That's going to be here on YouTube, the fight for this fight. And we're also going to have a preview and prediction now, as well as more from Teddy on this fight at the ropes. So with that being said, bud, let's get into it. Foster versus Fulton. This is going to be the first fight back after a controversial decision versus Conceição of regaining the belt and defending the title now for Foster. And Fulton, man who's won some belts at 122, 126 pounds, moving up. Can he do it at 130? The naturally bigger man, the longer man, Foster. Fulton, the more experienced and maybe the better resume. Want to hear your thoughts? What can we expect on this one?
Yeah, Foster's the favorite. Not a huge favorite, but he's the favorite, and I think he should be. And styles make fights. I think that's part of it. Foster's the kind of guy, he could be a straight-up boxer. He'll look to press. He'll look to go into. He's a well-rounded fighter. He can fight inside, outside. But he's predisposed a little bit to fighting well or maybe better on the outside, where he throws everything nice. You know, he's a sharpshooter. He throws nice, straight, short punches, concise punches, accurate punches. He's got that kind of style. He doesn't waste anything. He is a guy that can get outworked, can get out. Sometimes his offense goes on. It goes on leave. It goes on a vacation for a minute. Sometimes he'll get into defensive moves without the offensive connection with it or partnership of it right away. You know, he'll do a little shoulder roll, his version of a shoulder roll, and sometimes stand straight up. And by doing that, by turning his shoulder, by going defensive, by having his, going into a little bit, I would call it a peekaboo, but a defensive sort of zone without offense coming back, he will give you a chance to get your punches off, to catch up if you have to catch up, or go ahead and maybe outwork him in those areas where he might go, again, defensive a little too long. But he's a good, solid, technically, based fighter. Again, everything by the book. Doesn't do anything really where he gets sloppy. He does everything pretty. Even when he gets inside. When he does go inside, he's not throwing a million punches, but he's throwing the right punches. He'll throw the uppercut. He'll try to put a hook with it. He'll go to the body. He'll place shots. He'll throw educated punches. Fulton likes to counterpunch. He's just shorter man here. He likes to counterpunch, but he's a game guy. And if he has to go, and I think he's going to have to go forward against Foster, he will. He would rather counter. He moves his head well. He has been on the floor. He has been stopped by the great Inoue. Yes, by the great Inoue. But he was stopped. He was knocked out by him. And then he has been dropped in another fight. So you can hurt him. And the reason I bring that up is what you brought up. He's moving up again in weight. So he could be vulnerable there. Foster's not a huge puncher, but he's an accurate puncher. He's a guy that can catch you with that straight right hand. And Fulton has been hit with that straight right hand. And Foster can throw it off the counter. He could throw it off the jab. He could throw it either way. And he can use the uppercut on the inside. And Fulton leans forward a little on the inside. It looks like I'm picking Foster. I know. It does. And I'm pointing towards, again, justification of why Foster would be the favorite. I'd make him the favorite. But you don't win fights on paper. You win them in the ring. And there's so many other elements like grit, resiliency, determination. Fulton has those. Foster does too. But I think it's going to be called on Fulton to use those. And to use them more so than Foster, because Foster has an edge in some of those physical areas where he won't be forced to use them as much. And when you're forced to use them, sometimes your performance, sometimes you have a kind of performance that outdoes your ability because you knew you had to have that kind of performance. You just knew you had to have it. I think at some point, Fulton might get to that point. I think he could get hurt by Foster. He could even get dropped by Foster. He could even get stopped by Foster. But again, Foster, not a huge puncher, not a huge finisher. I see this fight being a real tight fight, a real close fight. I'm going to give you a crazy prediction. You get good odds on it. I could see the possibility of a draw. You get plus 1,500 if you lay 100. I believe that's what you get.
Yeah, 15-1 on the draw. This is just about a pick-em fight. As you said, Foster, I believe, is minus 120, minus 115, slight favorite.
I think that it's going to be close. The possibility of sparks, some, fireworks is more on the side of Foster. If that happens, obviously on the scorecards, that will give him a good advantage if that happens. At the end of the day, I see Fulton down the stretch taking advantage of some of those dead spots of Foster offensively. Just taking advantage and outworking him maybe, out-hustling him maybe. Maybe even out-gritting him just a little bit, even though I think Foster has plenty of grit. At the end of the day, maybe a slight favoritism towards the slight underdog here. But I wouldn't go crazy. I wouldn't go crazy on this fight. It's a close fight. That's why I said I wouldn't think it's impossible to be a draw. Put a little peanut just for fun on that. If you have it, never bet just to bet. And never bet recklessly, please. Be responsible. Only bet if you have something extra. Otherwise, don't bet. Don't bet. I'll say it again. Don't bet. Just watch it. And maybe me pointing out these things makes your watching entertainment a little better. It gives you something to look for that makes it maybe just a little more interesting for you without having to have a wager. But if you do go with a little wager, I'm saying it's going to be very close. Part of me wants to pick Foster because he's technically that guy. He's that stand-up, pretty boxer that really does things by the numbers. Kind of like coloring by the numbers. He's going to shoot that jab. He's going to shoot that straight right hand. He's going to shoot that left hook to the body. He's going to do everything nice and crisp and straight. But he's not going to do a lot of it. Last time I went to take the grandkids the other day to get ice cream, my granddaughter, she got a large. My grandson got a small cup of ice cream. I'm going to say Fulton gets a large cup of ice cream. I'm going to say that maybe he puts a few sprinkles on it. My granddaughter put gummy bears on it. I'm going with Fulton. 2 gummy bears to 1 with a slight edge with the larger cup of ice cream.
Yeah, a lot to break down there. I loved it. It makes complete sense to me. It's a tough one to analyze and to handicap. And the play of the draw, I like a lot because of the reasons you just broke down. Go back, watch the last 3 fights for Foster. They've all been split decisions. First to Nova, then the split decision loss to Conceição, and then when he regains the belt in the rematch, again by split decision to Conceição. And just 2 fights ago, Fulton versus Castro wins by split decision. I think you laid it out. I think it is that close according to odds makers of who will win. But I like the play. I like where you're going here, and I love the value at 15-1 on the draw for this one. With that being said, that pick will also, again, guys, be available at the ropes with Teddy's breakdown and explanations of what we covered here, and in more depth and in a typed out report.